Good morning. This morning, we're going to make my breakfast, which is going to be waffles. And we're going to start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour, which I sifted. And then to that, we're going to add all our dry ingredients, which is 3 tablespoons of sugar. After the sugar, then we add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And that cornstarch is going to help make it nice and crispy on the outside. Then we add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, and a quarter teaspoon of salt. And what we're going to do is whisk those all together like that. And then we're going to set that aside. And then in another bowl, we're going to add most of our wet ingredients. We're going to add 2 cups of buttermilk substitute, which we'll stir a little bit before we dump it in there. We're going to add 2 egg yolks. Now I separated the eggs, but I saved the egg whites, and you'll see why in a little while. Then we're going to whisk that together just to get those egg yolks all nicely mixed in. And we're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And I've got 4 tablespoons of butter that I melted. You could use oil, but the flavor is going to be better with butter. And waffles are all about the flavor. Okay, now we've got that all together, and we're going to bring back the flour mixture, and we're going to dump this into the center of the flour mixture. And with our spatula, we're going to mix that all together. Now the batter is going to be a little lumpy at this point, and that's just fine. Now, those egg yolks I mentioned earlier, we're going to set this aside again. We're going to do something with at this point in time. And that something is we're going to take a nice clean grease-free bowl, and we're going to take the 2 whites of those 2 large eggs that we set aside earlier. And we're going to whip them until we get stiff peaks. Now, if you don't know what stiff peaks are, it's the point at which the little peaks stay straight up and don't fall over when you lift your beater out of the egg white. Then we're going to bring back our batter, and we're going to gently fold the whites into the batter. You don't want to knock the air out of the whites, so you want to be gentle. So I'm gently folding these in. And as I said, trying not to knock the eggs out of the air out of the egg whites. The egg whites tend to separate into clumps. And it's really kind of difficult to get those clumps to disperse enough to go into the batter without deflating everything. But you don't want to use a mixer to do this, or even a whisk, because you will definitely overmix your dough or batter. And besides overmixing the batter, you will knock the air out of the egg whites for sure. And we're going to let that sit for now, because you want the batter to fluff up some and to thicken up some. So this gives it time for the baking powder and baking soda to react with the acid in the buttermilk, or buttermilk substitute in this case, and that acid, by the way, is lemon juice. Okay, this is a 3/4 cup measuring cup. Let's see how close to the right amount that comes. It looks like a little too much, so I'm backing off a little at the end. Now we're going to let those cook for a couple of minutes anyway. It kind of has to be done at this point. But they sure don't want to come out of the waffle iron. There's the first two. We're just going to set those aside while we spray this thing a little bit better. Add some more batter. Then we'll put a little butter on them. Do our best to get that butter to melt. And I like my waffles with syrup. So we're going to add some syrup. They're very, very good. Okay, that's the second pair of waffles. And they look even better than the first. I've got them all buttered. I did that while it was really hot. And that's going to be all I need. So all this leftover batter I'm going to save in the refrigerator and then have waffles for breakfast again tomorrow. If you're like me and you like breakfast, check out this video also.